Hey guys, Ben Hayes here with Hayes Custom Guns, and this is how I clean my pistol. Now this method of cleaning that I'm about to show you is primarily what I do on a multi-day competition scenario, or someone who is practicing often. This is not someone who goes to the range and shoots once a year and then puts their gun away for the rest of the year. This is not that. I would do a very thorough cleaning if I'm going to store the gun for any long period of time. But multi-day competition, even in between stages, this right here will keep your gun running smooth. So the first thing I do is take the slide off. And if you're new to 2011s, or really if you struggle with this, there is a technique here to grab. I like to put my finger inside the ejection port there of the slide. And this allows me to have really fine control over where that takedown notch is. You have a lot of control of the gun, and it really works well. So this one has a toolless guide rod in it, so it makes breakdown super simple. And this part, most people know how to get to this point right here. The slide is broken down, the barrel's out, but there's a few things in here that most people struggle with. Let me show you some tricks. Often one of the hardest parts to take apart on a gun is the extractor, but it's also one of the most critical to clean. What happens is carbon gets in there and fills up the empty spaces where that extractor is supposed to be having some wiggle room, to go around that shell casing. And if all that's filled up with carbon, it runs out of room and it can cause some issues. So here's what you do. This is a little red, little bitty flathead screwdriver, firing pin stop come out, and then I'm going to lift up the extractor here until the hook catches in the slide. Now, different brands of parts will fit together differently. Some come apart easy, some don't. If you have a stubborn one, I'll take my screwdriver and I will press this way and back, and that will get past the hook. That'll get the hook past the slide. And now I can go back to the back end of the gun and just raise up on the bottom there, and out comes your extractor. Now, if this is really stiff, or you just happen to get the wrong brands that don't really go together that well, what you do is take it to this point, and then you put it in a vise, and you get one screwdriver. Let's see, a screwdriver here. And this would be in a vise like this, and then you can take your other screwdriver and you're prying that hook that way and back while simultaneously putting pressure on it to come out. And some of the Rock Island guns from the factory, they come with some really weird grease, and it gets so tight in there that you really have to get two hands on it in a vise. So it can be difficult, but generally you just lift here, turn it this way, a little press, and lift out. And if this is too stuck here, a vise always helps. Pinch it in the vise jaws and just spin it. It comes right out. All right, so this is as far as I'm going to break this gun down. And brake cleaner, this is great stuff. Not so much for the chemicals or the degreasing power, although it is a good degreaser, but it has the jet action that just literally physically blows junk out of your gun. Make sure to get the non-chlorinated version. Chlorine is very bad. So all I did there was hose it out with brake cleaner, and then took my air hose. Now, air hose is very handy. If you don't have an air hose, this is a lot more difficult. You got to get rags or brushes and wipe all that gunk out of there. Now, if you do this method of cleaning often, there's not going to be too much buildup. But if you've neglected your gun and there's quite a bit of buildup, you might need to get just a flathead screwdriver or some type of scraper and just go along the joints and get all that carbon that's built up in all the crevices in there. But generally, that brake cleaner combined with the air hose is right on the money. So this gun is not too dirty. It's shot often, but we do this type of cleaning with it, about every time we shoot it. One thing on the inside you want to make sure you get is inside this extractor tunnel. And it's hard to see in there, but the gunk builds up and the brake cleaner just doesn't get it out. So you can take a round file or any any type of little screwdriver that'll fit in there. And I'm just pushing out the carbon buildup. There's really not that much. Sometimes it's large chunks coming out of there. So you want to make sure you clean out that extractor tunnel. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the slide. Brake cleaner it out, maybe a little brush, a little scrape, clean out that extractor tunnel, and that's it. Nothing to it. The barrel. This is pretty typical for the way a barrel looks. You know, it's nice and dirty, but when there's explosions and burning going on in there, so what do you expect? They're going to get dirty. So that's really not too bad. That's pretty typical. You can take a brush and kind of clean that up. You can take Dremel tools, you know, polishing bobs, and knock all that gunk out of there. But usually when you're at the range, you don't have power tools. So you have to do kind of a primitive job. The barrel on these, in my opinion, not really critical to get all of the lead and copper and fouling and all that buildup out of there. It's a pistol. You know, you're not shooting 100-yard groups with it. Or if you are, you should do a better, more thorough cleaning than this. But I just run a bore snake through it and then oil it really good with a nice oil like an FP10. Not something thin like rim oil or something like that. I'm going to run my bore snake back through it after I've oiled it really well. And that's pretty much it. There's no need to make that, you know, spotless. You fire one shot and it's going to go right back to being dirty. So this is a competition. We're in the back of a tailgate here, or, you know, hotel room. So it's very, very primitive, but it gets the job done. You can wipe all this other little parts down. It's not really a big deal unless, you know, you drop your gun in the dirt or the sand. You might scrub all that out. Moving on to the frame. It's pretty simple. You take a brush and get all the chunks out of there. Blow it out if you have an air hose. At this point, I'm not a huge fan of just brake cleaning, spraying brake cleaner all in there, because it's hard to get all the gunk out, and that brake cleaner will kind of break down your oil. So you really would need to re-oil that all in there if you were to do that in an optimal world. So I'm not going to brake cleaner any of that. I'm going to wipe the chunks off the rails, and that's it. I might add a little bit on the rails, disconnector, and I oil my guns way more than most people. Way more than most people. I like a lot of oil on my guns. So that's it. Now it's time to go back together. So we will take our extractor, put that in there, firing pin, and again, a little flathead screwdriver. And I'm just going to use my torso here to help me hold this. Sometimes these slides are beveled on the inside in the firing pin channel, and that will help you get your firing pin in much easier. So that's back together. At this point, I'll usually check my extractor tension, and I'll just take a round and slide it up underneath there. And if it holds tension like that, you're good. That's pretty good. I'm going to oil my disconnector track, my rails, really everywhere. I want oil everywhere. The lugs on the top, breech face, front where the barrel locks up. We've already oiled the inside of the barrel. Let's put our guide rod back together. And just like that, tailgate style. There are a few misconceptions about cleaning a gun and when it's needed and when it's not. For example, if you've ever shot in Texas at Reveille Peak, you know, Texas 3-gun championship, I should say. It doesn't matter if you fire a shot or not. If your gun is exposed to the elements out there in your holster or the back of your truck on your Polaris, the red dust out there is going to cake everything. If you have a gun in a holster, that dust is going right in the mag well and getting all inside the gun. So without even firing a shot, you're going to need to clean your gun every day, or at least I would recommend it. You don't want to lose a match because of a dirty gun causing malfunction. With that being said, the most important part of this whole entire package, as far as keeping a gun running in match conditions, like at Reveille Peak, is your magazine. These hit the ground on almost every stage, and as soon as they hit the ground, a cloud of red dust comes up. Let me show you how easy this is. This is an Atlas mag, but a lot of mags break down the same way. They've got this pin that holds the base pad on. $12, $15 mag brush, a couple of swipes. I just rake the side like that. And it's that easy to clean your magazine. So there's no excuse not to clean your magazines, even between stages, if they've hit the ground. Do that, and I guarantee you'll have good results with keeping your gun running. If you want a spotless gun and you really want to make your gun pristine and clean it the correct way, there's all kind of products with lead solvents and copper solvents and all these things. I would recommend you go to those manufacturers' websites and read the instructions on how to use each one. Some of them can be harmful if they're left on the gun too long, or if you mix them with another chemical, you could potentially kill yourself. I don't know. I've heard stories about people spraying chlorinated brake cleaner on a hot weld after they've just got done welding it, and I don't know if it's true or not, but chlorinated brake cleaner, when it hits and turns to steam or whatever it is, can put off some really harmful chemicals and some fumes. So be very careful with that. I personally can't remember a time when I used any kind of solvent to clean my pistol. It's basically this right here. This is the cleaning I do. And of course, I'll break down the lower part and clean all that out in somewhat the same manner as I did the top end. Maybe, once or twice a year, depending on how much I shoot or how serious I'm taking the match. So this method is really easy to do. Mag brush, maybe a little nylon brush, toothbrush, small screwdriver, bore snake, oil, and a brake cleaner, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't take much to keep the gun running. You just have to do it.